What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. So, as I've said before, you will probably notice if you look at YouTube, in particular, social media, anything that's sports related, especially NBA related, if the topic of Wilt Chamberlain comes up, you'll probably notice that there's a lot of anti-Wilt videos coming out now, saying that, well, becoming even more disrespectful, to be honest with you. Like, it used to be, oh man, when I first got on YouTube, the first anti-Wilt videos would say, well, in today's NBA, Shaq would kill Wilt, or Dwight Howard is better than Wilt. Okay, fine. Now it's, Jokic. That's fine. But the disrespect is getting to the point where you have people saying some of the most asinine things now. Like, oh man, Wilt would only be JaVale McGee today. Oh man, Wilt would be on the pine. He only played against, well, this is the favorite of mine. 6'4" white. Well, you can't even say that word no more. It's a slur, right? 6'4" white little people. Things like that. And at the end of the day, now they're attacking. First, they attack the man's skills and his ability to score, and his numbers are inflated. Even though today's numbers are inflated as well because of pace, but they don't want to hear that. But anyway, now it's about, well, his athleticism is overrated. In particular, they're attacking his vertical leap. Now, today, of course, there's an importance on vertical leap. There's a focus on vertical leap. You can pinpoint someone's vertical leap to the exact, millimeter, for the most part now. Now, that wasn't the case in Wilt Chamberlain's day. Now, what was Wilt Chamberlain's vertical leap? I don't know. I don't know what his vertical leap was in his prime. I do know this. It had to be well above average. Now, I'm seeing some people saying that they think in his prime that his vertical leap was no higher than 35 inches. And I saw one video where a person compared Wilt to some young, maybe he might be either a high school student or, not high school, but a high school basketball player or college player or something like that, who has a 46-inch vertical leap. And I think he's like 6'3" or 6'4". And they compare him to Wilt, who has his hands, or arms, way up, as if he was jumping. But in the actual photo, Wilt was not jumping. Wilt was actually standing flat-footed on the court. But they manipulated, think that to show that he was jumping, and it was just false shit, right? So I'm like this. I don't know what Wilt Chamberlain's vertical leap was in his prime, but it had to be very high. It had to be very high. I do know that he's one of the few people to successfully block, with some regularity, Kareem skyhook. And he did that in the 70s after he basically was playing on one leg and lost a lot of his athleticism and mobility, and and he was physically a shell of himself, but he was still able at that point of his career to give you on any given night 18 to 20 points and 18 to 20 rebounds, right? But Wilt Chamberlain in his physical prime in the mid to late 50s, early to mid 60s, what was his vertical leap? I don't know. I'm going to make the assumption that it had to be over 40 inches based upon photographs I've seen. Now, was it approaching 50? I don't know about that. But I do know this. When he was in college, they changed the rules so that he couldn't get free throw points running from the three. Well, what was, I guess, he would go back to what would be considered now the 3-point line and get a running start, and he would dunk from the free throw line. The same dunks that Dr. J and Michael Jordan got 50s for in the slam dunk contest. Apparently, Wilt was doing that in college, and they outlawed that. All right, they outlawed that, saying it was just unfair for someone to be able to do that. Okay? From the pictures I've seen, like I said, I don't know whether he had a 50-inch vertical leap. I don't know. We'll never really know. But from everyone that watched him play, it had to be much higher than normal. So I would just go out on a limb and say that, the estimation that it was 45 inches, I can go with that. Apparently he could dunk a 12-foot court when he was playing in Kansas. Sometimes, I believe the coach's name was Fog Allen. He believed that the goal and the basket, he think it should have been 12 feet instead of 10 feet. Sometimes they would raise the basket from 10 feet to 12 feet. And apparently Wilt was able to dunk a basketball on the 12 when it was raised to 12 feet. Another thing that he was able to do apparently was grab coins from the top of the backboard. Now that requires someone who can jump extraordinarily well, right? Now I'm going to show you a picture. I don't think this picture's been shown much. Now they claim that Wilt couldn't jump, like when he's jumping, his head is never above the rim, right? Which is baloney. I've seen images with his head above the rim. Now look at this photo. Look how high he's in the air. Now apparently he's blocking a shot. Now this was in college, all right? Now I'm assuming he's blocking a shot of someone from the perimeter, like someone, maybe a guard or someone, and he's going for the shot block. Look how high he's in the air. But they'll tell you that he only had a 26-inch vertical leap. I just don't understand it. I don't get why so many people are motivated to tear this guy down. Whether it's his offensive exploits, his strength, they say, oh, that's a lie. Oh, now it's his athleticism. They're trying to make him out to be nothing. Nothing. I'm like, well, if he was such a scrub, then what is that saying about Bill Russell and the Celtics, who had this super team, yet even though they did routinely beat Wilt, most of those games were very close. Even though Wilt had an inferior team around him, he was such a great, phenomenal, dominant player that he was able to at least make a go of it against Boston, with Boston's superior teamwork and backcourt scoring ultimately being the decisive factor, and clutch plays. So I'm just going to say this. I don't get why so many people want to tear down the Wilt Chamberlains and the Bill Russells, especially people that, you would think would look up to these guys, but they're so quick to, I hate to say it, but suck the dicks of Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic. And I just don't understand it. I really don't get it. They'll say, not to change it to Larry Bird, but they'll say Larry Bird would be a role player today. He's slow, but then they don't notice how slow Luka Doncic is. Does it make any sense? Does it make any sense that a player, despite the fact that Bird wasn't the fastest guy, he was definitely quicker than Luka, right? He was quicker than Luka. Didn't have the handles Luka have, I guess, but he was quicker than Luka. But you're telling me a guy who could shoot, rebound, and pass at an elite level would struggle in a league that's all about those things. Then you tell me that a team like the Utah Jazz, with a great passer like John Stockton, was all about the pick and roll, and had a great shooter in Stockton, and even a greater shooter in Hornacek, and a guy that had a can't-miss mid-range in Karl Malone. Because Karl Malone's baskets were basically transition buckets, the mid-range, and put-back layups and dunks, right? That's pretty much Karl Malone's offensive game. But he was able to do it well. Somehow that team, about the pick and roll, shooting, and those basic elements, and great defense, they would struggle today. It just makes no sense with these Looney Tune niggas on YouTube, man. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.